Okay, so today's RV upgrade is going to be replacing this faucet in the lavatory with a more modern design chrome Moen faucet, which you see here. So here we are beneath the cabinet, and you can see this white box here. That leads to the outdoor shower in the side of the RV. And right now, those water lines are pressurized. And because we're up in Canada for part of the winter, our water lines freezing is always a concern. So I'm going to actually, while I change the faucet, I'm going to cut into these two lines here and put shutoff valves probably back over here a little bit so that I can open the taps outside and then there'll be no water in the line getting close to outside. Up underneath here, this is the same connection type and on both the hot and the cold as it is on the back of the outdoor shower box. So those just unscrew or unwind, and then the water supply lines will be free. So I'm going to go outside now, turn the water supply off, disconnect these lines up in here. So I have gone outside, I've turned the water supply off, and got myself a little drip tray here. So now what I'm going to do is just unwind the supply lines to the outdoor shower. And I am getting some water. This is actually one of the low points in my RV. So we'll catch that water hopefully. And the same thing over here. Alright, so there we go. Now just let that water run out into the drip tray there. Alright, so it turns out my plastic drip tray had a hole in it. So I had a big mess down here on the shelf to clean up. So I've cleaned that up, and I think I've drained most of the water out into this glass container here. So I'm going to try and just move that as far over so I can get the camera up underneath here for you to see. Now, I should be able to just unwind the supply lines from that tap set above there, which seems to be going okay. Maybe a little bit of water, no? Okay, and now the other side. Okay, so the tap is disconnected. Alright, so I have removed the water lines from the tap. You'll see that black plastic nut that holds the tap to the sink, and there's one there as well. I'm not able to get them off or even loosen them just because of access. There's no way for me to get tools up in there. Now the sink itself is being held in by 5 of these clips right here. So I'm going to back those clips out and see if I can remove the sink from the vanity area and then change the tap that way. So with some effort I was able to get those clips out. Now the only thing that holds me back is this joint right here from the sink tailpiece into the P-trap. So that needs to be unwound, which should come out pretty easily. Yep, it does. And when I loosen that off, that's a compression fit joint. When I loosen that off, that should allow the sink to be free. I got myself a scraper. I believe the sink's perimeter is being held on by plumber's putty, so I'm going to just get this scraper up underneath there. It is our plan to change this sink out at some point as well. So I don't have to worry too much about damaging it. But yeah, you can see the plumber's putty there underneath the sink. But I think this is the only way I'm going to be able to get the sink out and in order to change that tap set. But you can see that's exactly what that is right there. That's plumber's putty. But it's been there for a while, so it's hardened up a little bit, and it's making it tricky for me to get the sink out. But I will prevail. Okay, so now I'll go down this side. Alright, so now I got enough of it loosened off here. I should be able to. Now this will have to lift up straight because that tailpiece will be sitting in the P-trap pipe. But if I get this straight up, alright, so there we go. There it is. Okay, so these are the nuts that I wasn't able to remove when the sink was in place, causing me to have to remove the sink. So now they're readily accessible. I'm just going to get my wrench on here, and it should be pretty straightforward to loosen those off. That one was. So was that one. Just wasn't able to do that with the sink installed, just there was no access to get the wrench up in there, forcing me to remove the sink. So now I just have to back these off, these plastic nuts. Okay, so that's that. And then this tap set, the factory tap set, should come right off. Now I know if I don't clean this mess up before I put the new tap on, then my wife will not be happy. So here we go. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to get down here and cut through this piece of pipe. I don't know, maybe a couple inches away from the connection point there. And and now compression ring on either end, like that, and that, and then the shutoff valves. And I'll just make sure these do not have a flow, a direction flow. It doesn't appear that they do. So that will go in there and there. And now I can go ahead and crimp those on, and that will allow me to shut off my supply water to the outdoor shower. A little bit tricky for access here. Oh, okay, so the handle for the valve itself is in the way, so I'm going to just turn that 90 degrees. There, now we should be good. And that's a pretty good compression right there. And now put that back in the other side and see if we can get that a little neater for you. That was the cold supply for the lavatory faucet. This is the hot supply, so I'm going to put the shutoff valve here now, and then down there, these are the two supplies for the outdoor shower. So I'm going to put the shutoff valves in down here so I can isolate everything as needed. These shutoff valves are about, I don't know, $7 or $8. So it's a good way to be able to compartmentalize things, especially if you're doing your own RV maintenance and repairs and upgrades. And what I think I'm going to do is I'll crimp this now up here before I get it down there attached to the pipe. It's just easier. I don't know if you can see it in the video there, but that's the end of the brass, kind of where my fingernail is there. That's the end of the brass. And the PEX pipe goes right up to this nut here. And the compression ring is in the middle. And that's going to give us our best possible sealing joint there. So that's kind of what you want to aim for. That's about as good as you can get with a PEX joint. So I'm going to go ahead now and attach this back, cut in the 2 lines for the outdoor shower, and then we'll hook up the new faucet. All right, so here's a funny story. I actually took this sink, which is now clean, you can see, and I asked my wife if she could clean it up. So she took it to the kitchen sink, and of course I had turned the water off outside. So luckily I have shut-off valves on all of these different supply lines, so I was able to turn them all into the off position. And then I went outside and I turned the supply line back on to the RV, and lo and behold, we have a really nice clean surface here now, thanks to my lovely wife. And now I can go ahead and install that tap set. So now we can take the new faucet, make sure that plastic gasket is in place, slip it through the sink, and then these plastic nuts, which I dropped one on the floor, simply just fasten to that threaded brass spout. In this case, I will use the adjustable wrench just to tighten that, snug that up a little bit, so that the tap doesn't get loose during use. Just like that. And now I will get the other nut and do the other side. And that's pretty much it for that piece. So now this sink with the new tap set can be put back in place. As you can see, I went around the sink and reattached those 5 plastic retainer clips. And you can see the one back there. And now the only thing left to do is to reattach the supply lines, the hot and cold supply lines, to the sink. Right, so you can see I now have shut-off valves to the outdoor shower in the off position, and the shut-off valves up at the tap sets in the on position. So now I don't have to worry about water freezing between the outside connection and where the supply is, which is here. There's no water in the pipe here now because of the shut-off valve. And we have the new tap set installed, and as you can see, it works as expected. So a successful install. Join me next time when we replace this plastic sink with a porcelain one.